Good evening, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of Grumpy Old Spurs. Thanks for watching. A couple of lifelong Spurs fans sat in their kitchen grumbling about the team they claim to love. Before we get going, just a couple of things, just a bit of housekeeping. Please give us a like, and if you don't already, subscribe. We'd love it if you'd help us share the misery. Also, if you want to find us, we're on X and on Blue Sky. Plenty to talk about this week. Obviously, with me, as usual, is my mate from over in Oz, and he's had his Barnet cut and a Chaz and Dave. So I'm talking to Dave. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Should we swap us over to our normal sides?
Would you like me to do that? Do you feel
I do feel a bit uncomfortable.
How's that, mate?
That's great. That's my first grumpy moan of the
Get them in early.
Get them in early. No, I'm very well. I've had a Chaz and Dave. I've had Barnet cut, so all good to go. I've got the show in the background. Our motif, Grumpy's there, all good to go. And I'm looking forward to it. We've got to kick off with a bit of a somber thing to say. I've got an apology to issue. Yeah. So obviously last week we talked about Tottenham managers and who had the best Barnet, and we all forgot to mention Jerry Francis, of course, who had one of the greatest haircuts any Tottenham managers ever had. Have you got any fond memories of Jerry's hair?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jerry's time at the club, but
no, this is hair.
It's just his hair. Really, really difficult to think of anything negative to say about Jerry's hair. It was a thing of beauty. What do you think he did when he walked in the barbers? What do you think he asked for? Or do you think they've just been doing it for that long? It was just the usual.
Well, it kind of like, it was a bit like, I'm a bit short on top, so I'll overcompensate by being long at the back. And then he obviously said to the barber that most of his post-match interviews, he'd like to look face down at the floor or just move his head from side to side, and then talk about how the club will only sign the right player if the right player becomes available, which is very prescient for where we are today, which we'll get on to, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, a great start to the show, obviously, and that's why we pick up the numbers we do. 5 people watching live, Dave. That's the type of conversation these people tune in for. But look, mate, since the last time we met, Augsburg at home saw us through in the Europa League. Kids are all right, aren't they, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're a grumpy show, and I think to be grumpy and moaning the first half, the way that we moved the ball around was pedestrian at best. I mean, we were up against the quality of a team who had just sold their striker to Plymouth Argyle. So,
and a team that hadn't won away or in this country for 12 years, wasn't it, Dave?
That's right. And, they're a Swedish team, so they're like a flat pack 4. Sorry, I had to get in the old IKEA joke. I do love that. Sorry, it wasn't even my joke; someone else's. But look, we're not going to talk about that much. But the second half, the thing is, right? The second half is that it was genuinely lovely to see those 3 kids score a goal.
Yeah,
right?
Brilliant.
That is when you see young kids coming through and they get a goal, and you hope they go on to have a great career with us. You always have more of that affinity with them as a player because that's what you're seeing. So, I think that was really nice to see. And now, job done. We're now through. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we got a playoff. And it was, I put in our group, the minute Dane Scarlett come on, I said he'll score the winner. Obviously, it wasn't the winner, but he scored the first one. But a little bit, not strange, I suppose, but obviously, he's had a few minutes, hasn't he, where Lancashire couldn't get any in the end. So Ange must see something in him that he didn't see in Lancashire. But the kid who scored the second goal, that's the one that was a great goal. It was brilliant to see him come on and do that. And then obviously Mikey Moore, minutes before I sort of said he's just not quite ready, is he, Moore? I said he's getting in some good positions and he's doing some good things, but it's just not quite coming off. Literally 5 minutes after I put that in the group chat, he does that. But and it just makes you think a little bit, doesn't it, Dave? Could we not use some of those at certain minutes in certain games in that competition to take minutes off other players. But at the end of the day, like you said, we're through. Young kids playing, coming on. We all love to see that.
So your favourite child gave you that mug. So who's your favourite? Who's your favourite child then?
My son claims he's my favourite child. He bought it me for Christmas.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and my daughter bought me like one of these a really good, like portable mug, not the shit ones you buy from like Tesco or whatever. So I think, I don't know what they're trying to say. At least it was in a beer glass.
I got this. Yeah, look, I think it's weird. Like, Lancashire's a bit of a weird one for me, right? Because, I mean, he played in Galatasaray away, which I think is the hardest away fixture that you can have in the whole group stages. He started with that. He scored. He got sent off. And he's hardly been used ever since. I just think that's just like, okay. I mean, Mikey Moore, who had a good game in Europe during one of the weeks, and then he started Palace away, and we were absolutely awful and not the best place to start him against. He's carried on playing, whereas Lancashire's now gone. Where's he gone? West Brom. Yeah,
good move for him, I think. No, I think that'll be a good move for him, Tony Mowbray. But I mean, like I said, it was first half was poor, routine win in the end. Augsburg were absolutely dog's business, weren't they?
They were.
But, so I wasn't going into the Brentford game with too much optimism after that. But it turned out all right, didn't it, Dave?
As I said, job done. And just got through. Is it the last 16 now?
Yeah.
And look, our history in that competition since we won it in 1984 in whatever format then, we haven't gone beyond the quarterfinals ever since. And who can never forget one night in Zagreb when we managed to lose to a team whose coach went to prison in between the 2 leagues. Right. So I've still got post-traumatic, was it PTSD about that night? That was awful. One night in Zagreb, awful. But I think job done, and that's cool. And then do we want to have a chat about Brentford?
Yeah, I thought we'd go on to Brentford because that was the next game. Much needed win, Davo. A different type of performance from Spurs. I thought we defended really well. We didn't defend letting the crosses come in that well because we seemed to appear they just kept making angles and getting the ball in. But I thought we defended the crosses really well.
Yeah, I thought. Look. Listen. I mean, was it the greatest game of football we're ever going to see? No, right? But considering that we were are in a relegation battle or otherwise, we needed to get. I mean, I did say last week one of my most memorable football predictions of I would basically I wouldn't say throw the game, but I'd rest everyone. And we're going to get smashed. So we won 2-0. And on that point, I've had an awful fantasy football league week because I decided that I put the Bournemouth players who are at home to Liverpool. I fancied them against Liverpool at home. I put them in my starting lineup and I benched the Forest players. So I've missed out on a Chris Wood hat-trick and a clean sheet. So I've had an absolute shocker. And so I've also... You had Chris Wood, yeah? Yeah. I've got him on the bench. And the defender, I've had a shocker. And then I had the Bournemouth defenders. And the other one as well is that, as I said, it shows what I know about football. That's why I haven't got my coaching badges. I said that we should rest against Brentford. We're going to get smashed. It doesn't matter. And we've ended up winning. And it was a good performance. I mean, look, Ben Davies, a lot of people slag him off because, he's endemic of the ENIC regime because he's been around a long time like Lloris and blah, 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 blah. But he's our Welsh James Milner. He's important to have around the club. I actually think the performances he's put in the centre back in a back four this season. He's been very good actually. I think he's done well.
I think he does pretty well all the time. He brings the ball out well. There's obviously he may lack a little bit of pace, but there can be younger players that lack pace. But he tends to do most things well, doesn't he? And we do lack experience, and he's got that. And he never really lets us down. I mean, at times people moan about him, but he never really lets us down. Archie Gray, superb again. We didn't buy him as a centre back, but at the minute, you wouldn't think that centre back was in his position, would you?
No. I mean, if we ever went old school with a back with three at the back and playing a proper old school sweeper, I think he'd make a great old school sweeper because he's good on the ball. He can bring it out, and I think that's great. And then obviously, reports coming in about what Jamie Carragher was saying in the studio.
I mean, we sort of touched on this before, didn't we? But stuff like that doesn't usually wind me up. You know what the pundits say. I know people get their ass in the rank because, Jamie Redknapp, everybody thinks he has a dig at Spurs because of his dad, and sometimes people get really, really uppity about it. But it doesn't bother me because that's their job, and a lot of the stuff they say is sort of like fact, and people just don't want to hear it. But like when he started talking about, I can see Tottenham getting beat, and he's piped up a little bit before, hasn't it? It's as if he's got an agenda against us at the minute. Like I said, I don't get like that. Then the Dr. Tottenham comment, I just thought, mate, what is all this? And I don't know how they get away with it. I don't know how, like, Sky they were all laughing, weren't they? They were all sort of like poking fun at them before the game in the studio. But I said to you, I can remember years ago when we lost to Liverpool. I think it might have been the 2-2 game where Wanyama scored. It might have been a different one. Mo Salah scored, and he literally cheered. And he was doing the commentary, and he was like, "Mo Salah, you little dancer!" And at that point, I thought, "Whoa!" I thought this was meant to be like. I know you support Liverpool, and we know Neville supports United, but I thought this was your job as a commentator was to be pretty impartial. But it was a cheap shot from Carragher, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I do get a bee in my bonnet about all of this stuff, to be honest.
I know you do.
I mean, it sounds weird because I don't get Sky Sports, but we get we get beIN Sports. I think they do the global feeds offshore, right? So Chelsea game, more often than not, we always get Andy Townsend, ex-Chelsea. We get a lot of Jim Beglin, who's an old Liverpool left back who hates Tottenham, and he's always going on about it. And then they pan away, and they get at the half time they get Michael Owen, a man who's so boring he could send a glass. He could send a glass light. He sends a glass light to sleep. I mean, he's so boring that I was once having an animated discussion with one of my kids about the fact he needs to go to bed at half time of the game because it's on at night, and he said, "No, I want to stay up till full time." Michael Owen did a great job, sent him to fast asleep on the couch and stuck him in bed at the end. That's how boring he is, right? So at the end of the day, basically, we are in a situation where the media is rammed full of Liverpool, rammed full of Arsenal, and Man United, right? I mean, Roy Keane slags us off, but Roy Keane was a Tottenham fan when he was growing up. Hoddle was his hero, right?
Yeah.
And and Sky just want to ram it, like they just love it. They think we're a joke.
I think Keane's quite spot on, though, mate. I'm just sorry to butt in on you, but I think whenever Keane says stuff about Tottenham, I think he sounds a little bit like the type of fans like us. And the other one I'll bring you on to when you just finish when you carry on with your rant. Sorry, every Spurs fan seems to hate when you look at the socials when Glenn Hoddle's on. They have a right being their bonnet about Glenn Hoddle.
Yeah, is that the millennials who don't understand who Glenn Hoddle is? And I mean, sorry, and I am being a grumpy old man, right? Because at the end of the day, I am basically in a situation where Hoddle was my childhood hero. That man bleeds Tottenham. I mean, he wasn't the best manager in the world, whatever, but yeah, he's very critical of him because he comes at a place of love, right? So it's quite a Tottenham thing, really, if you think about this now. Because let's look at Sky, right? You got Carragher slagging us off. You got Henry and Redknapp. But who do we roll out to kind of balance it? It's our old mate Michael Dawson.
Yeah, the company. Yeah, rubbish.
Right? We got Michael Dawson.
Genus we can't have no longer. Genus used to like us.
Okay, did you like Jermaine Genus as a player?
He went from some games he was fantastic, and then he'd be anonymous. He was one of those type players. I didn't really mind him. I didn't really, I didn't dislike him, and I didn't really like him. I just thought at times, he was the type of guy. We play a game like and beat Derby 4-0, and you sort of knew in your head it's the sort of game that Genius will bag a couple today. He was that type of player.
I've got to be honest with you. I loathed Jermaine Genius. All right, sorry, right. I loathed him, and I'll tell you something, right? If I mean, obviously we've got all our XG PowerPoint slides coming up in the moment and we've gone viral, by the way. We started off with 5, we've now got 30. Oh, we've gone down to 32. The minute I talk, the numbers go down. Funny that. Jermaine Genius always lost the ball, right? Yeah. He always lost the ball. When the going got tough, he just disappeared. And then at the start, what really triggered me at the start of the Ramos 2 points from 8 game season, he was part of the leadership group, which I think we'll go on to in a minute, where he was vice captain or something. And to show that he was like really caring, he was rolling up his sleeves and literally rolling up his sleeves. Now everyone's going to go, he scored against the Gooners and he scored against Chelsea, therefore he's great. But he arrived at the point of this player that left for us, or actually, he kept this player out of the team that I thought was really underrated and I really liked, and that's Pedro Mendes. I really like Pedro Mendes.
I like Mendes. I went to an Everton game. I reckon it might have been New Year's Day, and I think we won. You'll remember this, Davo. We scored 5. I can't remember if they scored 1 or 2. And Mendes scored a great goal in that game from the edge of the box. The other goal scorers were Dean Marney scored a couple of bangers. Rito Ziegler. I've got a feeling it was Canute, because you're talking about that. I know we're just going off on a bit of a tangent here, but you're talking about underrated players at that point. Freddie Canute. I used to love watching him at the Lane. When he was on it, mate, he was unbelievable. But yeah, Genius was one of those. And I'll tell you another player who used to give the ball away a lot, who I loathed and other people liked, Steed Malbronk. He'd do that little turnaround. He'd turn around, wouldn't he? Do a 360. But he was always giving the ball away. I think that's that's the type of team we were then, a bit like the team now.
Yeah, but there's that story about Steve Malbronk that when we signed him, he couldn't play to start with because he had a groin injury, because apparently he was having some kind of an operation to extend a part of his body, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
And that was also the period of time that we bought. That was a period of time under Yoel Kamoli, whatever, that we had no one with a left foot playing on the left side. Now, I know it's all fashionable now to be inverted, remember? But you remember who we had on the left of midfield? Either Steve Malbronk, Timo Tainio, used to stick him out there. They even put out Danny Murphy there. And there you go. Which reminds me, going back to this media point for a minute, any ex-Tottenham players who are in the media are ones who have had a crap career for us, and they've also got a chip on their shoulder, Danny Murphy, Darren Bent, they hate us.
Right? Darren Bent's an Arsenal fan, isn't he?
He's an Arsenal fan. And then you've got and then you got Bent, Jamie O'Hara. They wheeled out Mido the other day, and then they keep wheeling out bloody Ramon Vega. I'm sorry. Ramon Vega, all right? I'm sorry. And there's a guy there's a really cool guy on Twitter called Real Estate who's very Enoch out, and he was harking back to the good old days. He loves Ramon Vega. He said he had Heskey in his back pocket.
He did.
In that final.
He did.
Yeah. He always rolls that out when I go, Vega's rubbish. And then Vega, like about a year and a half ago, was it 2 years ago? Don't worry, everyone. I'm putting together a consortium because he works in hedge funds. We're going to go and buy Tottenham. Still waiting for that, Ramon.
Yeah. But, mate, it's just like Hoddle. People hate him, didn't he? Like, we can be literally, the players can be giving the ball away and we can't control the game. And Hoddle will go, Spurs need to get some control of this game and stop giving the ball away. They need to take the pressure off. You'll look at your phone and on social media be like, oh, bore off, Hoddle. Bore off. Always having a go. I mean, being on with Sam Matterface obviously doesn't help him.
No.
But yeah, I find it like bizarre that I don't get touchy-feely. If pundits are saying, like you say about Roy Keane, if we've been rubbish and they're like, and he's like, look, they can't defend. They keep letting in goals, they can't defend. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. It's the stuff like Carragher which actually got us onto this. The little snide sort of like I said, cheap shots that really pissed me off. But
yeah, I mean, I think. Can I just? So there's another one as well. I'll just throw in another one while we're on the topic. Jonathan Pearce, right? He's never forgiven God for not making him Mrs. Arsene Wenger. All right. So growing up in London and listening to him on Capital Gold, he absolutely. He says he's a Bristol boy and a Bristol fan.
Yeah.
He loves Arsenal, loves them, and every time he commentates, or they used to commentate us when we were in Europe, right? Within 5 nanoseconds of the game started, straight away he goes, "We haven't won a trophy since 2008." It's actually union rules for every journalist and commentator in England that when you talk about Tottenham, you have to say that we haven't won a trophy since 2008. All right,
mate. Well, he used to commentate on us when we were on Channel 5. That says everything about his commentating credentials, doesn't it?
He is so, yeah. So there we go. I'm not the only one. That's right, Gary. He's a complete gooner. He loves the Arsenal, and every time he's so snidey about us when he commentates. And so Jonathan Pearce triggers me. He doesn't make me feel touchy and feely.
This is typical. This is great grumpy old Spurs fans content, isn't it? We've just gone off on a tangent about commentators. But mate, we got to talk about the Brentford game a bit. Obviously,
sorry. Back to Brentford, and
back to the Brentford game.
We had our peak of 33. We're back down to 30.
Yeah. Our friend Cece, cuddling and crying, didn't have a great game all round, but 2 goal involvements, mate.
Against Brentford.
Well, he put the corner in.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. So our mate, Mr. Cuddling and Crying. And by the way, I'm going to be clear about this.
We're just being ironic. We're just taking.
I do love Son. We've obviously Kerry's not watching. So we've lost Kerry. We've lost her forever.
We're on 29 now.
No, Kerry's not been in at all. So she's been put off, right? So at the end of the I will get on Soul Sniper. Don't worry, we'll get on to your comment. We'll do the transfer window shortly. All right. So with the game against the Brentford, the issue that with Son and Richie, right, playing up top, they're not the type of strikers to hold the ball up. That's Solanke, right? Yeah. Or maybe even buying another striker. But I'm being revolutionary, right? Sonny, the game is not the back to goal, which HD's been banging on about for years. Richarlison, he's not a back to the goal. He's not someone who can keep the ball massively and it sticks to him. So I thought that, it was Sonny's through ball for the second goal, wasn't it? That was a great ball, right?
Yeah.
And I thought he actually looked a little bit sharper in a way, but he's not holding up the ball great, which is not his game. And it still comes back to the fact, right, at the end of the day, his best play is when someone is putting that through ball to him, like really what he did to Sarr, and getting on the end of it and scoring. That's where he shines, right? And I thought Maddison, who's obviously part of our leadership group, which we'll get on to soon, is meant to be doing that, and he hasn't been doing that, right? So I thought he did, he did what he needed to do. And the other thing as well, I know we're grumpy. It was lovely to see at the end the bond between the players. I mean, it's always nice to win an away game and they're not being booed and called every name under the sun. This is nice, but and I love seeing it. I love seeing it at the away end. At the end, they were all singing "Spurs are on their way to Wembley."
That
gets me going.
That gets me going. Beat a bit of Chaz and Dave, can you? That's what
you can't.
But I think that he's looked a little bit sharper the last few games, Son. He's not back there yet. Like I said, he didn't do, but he has started to look a little bit sharper, and we need him. We need him at his best. But a couple of good goal contributions. I was extremely not disappointed because we won, but I was surprised by how poor Brentford were. I thought they were really poor. Like I said, usually when crosses are being piled into our box, you think to yourself, it's coming. But for the first time in a long time, I was watching that and I thought, they're not going to score. I just couldn't see it. Apart from Wissa had that sitter where he missed. But apart from that, I just didn't fancy him to score. I thought they were miles off it. And I thought we rode our luck. and dug in there and got our just rewards and a well-deserved result, I thought.
I think Alan sums it up beautifully here. Because Brentford are great at home. We've battled down the hatches and we've eked out a clean sheet. Eke's a great word. And, while scoring, luckily you're on the break. It wasn't Ange ball.
No.
Right? No one was inverting.
No
one was high-lining.
But this is not we've been screaming for Ange to do, Dave, but you've got to do that sometimes, haven't you? I know it must be against every fibre of his being, and he may have gone down that tunnel going, I can't believe we've just won a game like that. But do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's what's got to be done, isn't it? It's fine. We're happy.
Yeah, I listen, we've all grown up. We want us to play free-flowing football. All our heroes are free-flowing players and all that. I mean, I love Graham Roberts. He's a great player, a lot of skill, and he dug in. Hard as nails. And at the end of the moment, at the end of the day, we needed a result, and that's what we did. And I thought they did well. And if you were going to, we've seen a load of Tottenham teams over the years stop playing for the manager. I still think they're playing for the manager, right? Yeah. I really do think that. And I think that, and that's obviously you want that, but I think that's a good thing as well.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Gary's not a fan of Thomas Frank.
I think Thomas Frank's good. I just think they were poor. I think Frank's a good manager, to be fair. But I'm not an Ange fan, Dave. But
we know that.
That is one thing that I cannot, I think the players are still with him. I think, which we're about to come on to, which somebody put in the chat. I think he can talk the talk, and he gets players to Spurs when he starts talking to them. I think they believe in him. So that's all good stuff, because the minute we've seen far too often the manager lose the players at Spurs, haven't we? Or it comes out that they've had to train too hard.
Gary's not happy. He's not happy.
Mate, we're not getting Thomas Frank, are we? Let's be honest. But I don't think he's a bad coach. But far too often over our time supporting Spurs, Dave, we've seen managers lose players, and then we've seen the old what's the usual one in the sources close to players say that they were asked to train twice a day and not allowed to eat chips at lunchtime and stuff like that, and it alienated the manager and all that rubbish.
Yeah, that's when maybe certain members of the hierarchy like to plant those stories. So I think that's what we are. Should we move on to the the window, and let's get Soul Sniper. Let's hope Soul Sniper still remains with us, because he wanted us to deal with the present. He was had enough of us going down memory lane. So let's talk about the window, shall we?
Yeah.
What's your? So we've hit the end of the window. So traditionally, what we like to do on this channel, whatever name we've been called, is give a rating out of 10 for the window. Do you want to do that now, Gibbo, or how would you like to do that?
Yeah, because then we can discuss why we've given it that rating, can't we? So we asked this in our group yesterday, and I think I gave the window. Now I don't want people to get at me. I'd give it a 5. And one of our members in the group was like, 5, that's really low, isn't it? And I said, no, I look at it like this.
5. Someone said 5, that's low. I'm amazed you gave it a 5.
1 shocking, 10's brilliant, 5's neither. Anything below 5 is poor. Anything above 5 is becoming really good. Now, I'll give it a 5 because the guy from Bayern, the marks are completely knocked down to all lastminute.com, wasn't it? We could have done with these players a while ago in Levy lovers or Enochinners or whatever you want to call them, or any lover will
any lover in
the world will say it's not that easy. It's not like Football Manager. But obviously, you've got teams now that work on deals leading up to transfer windows, and you'd have thought they'd have been ready to go.
Sorry, hang on a minute. It's not easy to buy a player. Did you just say?
Well, what people, Dave. people all sort of say it's not Football Manager. You don't just go and try and sign a player. There's lots of moving parts. That's one, isn't it? There's lots of moving parts in it. But it just all came a little bit late. Now, the keeper, I think, will be a good signing. I think he's
so
decent.
far.
Yeah, I think he's a decent signing.
Sorry, can I just cut across you for a sec? About 35 loyal watchers. It'd be lovely if you put in the comments what you think the rating out of 10 is, and we'll put them up as well. All right. So for the window we just had, what's your mark out of 10? So carry on, Gibbo. Sorry.
And then, the kid I'll put the guy from Bayern and the guy from Lens, Danzo and Tau. I've never seen them play. I obviously did my scouting on YouTube. You know, where people put the little shirt like the Spurs shirt on them, and then it's like so and so to Spurs or whatever, and they show you their highlight reel. Very promising, but we don't know, do we? We don't know how good they're going to be or how well suited they're going to be, because people like me and you didn't do the data on getting those two players, did we? We've not looked at the data, because obviously our data-driven approach at Spurs would have found all the things that the manager needs. But I think 5's a fair reflection. If we'd have got the guy who I've been championing us to get,
we'll get onto that in a minute. I want to come back to that in a minute, if that's all right.
So I'm going for a fair 5.
You're going for a 5, right? Can I just? Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. So I'll give you some previous historic marks out of 10 from me. You ready?
Yeah. Go on.
So the window that we signed Romero, Emerson, Hill, and Toby left, and Coco left, and all that, and Brian Hill came in. I gave that a 3 out of 10. Okay, 3 out of 10. Okay. The whatever we did with the Bentancur Kulusevski one, I didn't give it a rating, but the usual. Left it to the last minute at the end. Then my rating meter was back on for the summer of Perisic, Forster, Richarlison. My most favourite player, Clement Longley. I gave that a 6 out of 10. I doubled the rating. So things are getting better. Things are getting better. Okay. And then for the summer, I don't think I gave a rating for the VDV Dragons the VDV. I didn't give one that. So the summer window just gone. Having given a 3, a 6, I gave it a 4.5, which I'm being very generous. In the middle. Which was a Solanke, and so where are we now on this one? On the January rating, you've given it a 5, which I think is incredibly generous. And then I gave it a 4.5 in the summer. I'm going 4.25. And the reason for that, I'm going to explain that. Blind Nelly, sorry if I'm going to get cancelled for saying that. You going into January, we had a truckload of injuries, and we've had a truckload. How many games have we played in January? Loads, right?
Can you just tell us who Blind Nelly is? Please?
Oh, it's an old expression. It's just anyone can tell that we needed players from day one, right? So what have we got in? We've got in so the guy we got in from Bayern Munich could frankly be another Adel Taarabt.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, look, I mean, it was quite amusing that Levy apparently goes out to Germany, gives the big sell. Maybe Levy gave him I was just like you. I went to school once and the teacher said I'd never make it. But it didn't work on Ndombele and it didn't work on Eltel, right? But then a Zoom call with an Australian persuades him that he should sign for us, and because he didn't want to go anywhere else, right? So at the end of the day, Eltel apparently, I mean, my data-driven approach, because I had a quick read of an article about him before we came on here, is that he's good at dribbling. He's not very defensively aware, but he's also, he's very fast. He can beat a man, but he could play across the front three. It sounds like another Taarabt, right? Yeah. But we needed someone up top, and so therefore, absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we've just done a transfer deal for Harry Kane, and nothing to do with the fact that they owe us money over the term of the Kane contract. We've done a deal with Bayern Munich. There's no link to that whatsoever.
Yeah, you wouldn't be so cynical, would you, David?
I would never be so cynical. Now, next up, our man, our defender that we've signed.
Tony Danza.
Tony Danza from Taxi. So we've signed him, and he was also in that when he was a nanny. And then the English version of it, Paul McCann from Bread played it. Well, what was that called? I don't know.
Paul
Whatever.
McCann weren't in Bread.
Let's not go on. Sorry. We're at our peak at 39. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, what I'm trying to say about this is that Johnny H, who's on a lot of YouTube channels, he knows his stuff, very knowledgeable person. He knows his data and his data. He knows his stuff, and he's involved in that kind of stuff. He sent through something. He sent through like the breakdown of Tony Danza from Taxi, and where his worst ratings is on blocks and interceptions. Now, again, as I've said in the last 2 weeks, I don't have my FIFA Pro license badge, but if he's a defender and the worst thing, then his worst rating is about blocks and interceptions, I sense an issue, right? So we bought him for what? 20 odd million or something, or whatever it is.
He's on loan, isn't he? And I think if he signs, it's 20 million. No, he's on loan until the end of the season.
Tony or El
Tony Danza is on loan till the end of the season, and I think it's 20 million, which goes to 25 if we ever win anything. So it's 20 million.
It's 20 million. So we've signed Adel Taarabt. And I think potentially Tony Danza could be going straight into the League Cup semi-final, like another January window signing Ricardo Rocha. Remember him?
Yeah, he went straight into the FA Cup, didn't he?
No, he went straight into the League Cup semi-final. I either think he came on and he kind of fell on the ball at the Emirates and they scored, something like that. But then, of course, it went to Portsmouth who beat us in the semi-final of the FA Cup, which is something else I've still tried.
Well, we gave them a load of players, didn't they? Didn't they have the Ghetto kid as well? What's his name? Botang.
Kevin the Prince. Didn't he? Yeah. Let's not go there because that's a real trigger moment. So, in summary, I've given it a 4.25 out of 10. We've got Gary. He's given it a 6. He says we needed a keeper.
Very positive from Gary.
We needed 2 centre backs. We only got 1.
Yeah, we only got 1.
We needed a forward. We've got Adel Taarabt. Time taken. But Gary, I'm not being funny. The way that you've done the graphics here with this tick across is something that I'm not capable of doing.
So he's saying we needed 2 centre backs. He's put tick because that for 1 and cross that we didn't get the second one. Needed a forward, tick. Time taken, cross. For not being very good.
Thank you, Gibbo, for translating it for me.
That's okay. But
hang on a second. Let's get Alan in. Look at this.
This isn't the show for you, boys. 6 and 8. What's going on there?
He's got 8. He's got 1 for the timings.
Yeah.
And dragging us through the slough of despond. Thank you, Mr. Bunyan, for a whole month. That's it. So there we go. Someone says I've got some kind of agenda. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I've got no agenda at all.
That second, I mean, what would have happened? Those marks. What did Gary give it? A 6.
He did.
If we'd have got the second centre back and it had been Axel Disaster from Chelsea, would that have gone down to a 5, or would you put it up to a 7? Gary, what would you have done? We'd have signed Axel Disaster from Chelsea.
Axel Rose. Oh, hang on. We've got Kevin Wimmer. Let's have a quick career appreciation of Kevin Wimmer. Do you mind if I go first?
Yeah.
One, I know he's Austrian, but he always reminded me facially a bit like Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's 1. 2, the first when he played when we came 3rd, I think, in that 2-horse race, and he played half a season. He did all right.
He did well.
Okay. The next thing is, and most importantly, for our cuddling and crying club captain, they're best muckers, and they still are to this day. There's a bromance, love that word, bromance is between Sonny and Kevin. And you sat down, Gibbo, and we're up to 44. So the 44 people are watching, sit down a minute. How Levy managed to squeeze 15 million quid out of Stoke for him, or maybe it was Palacios as well. Well, ready for this? Well done, Daniel.
Yeah, he's done that quite a bit though. But look, I'm not
Daniel
very happy with John. He's put this in, and these figures will go straight down now. Look, they've dropped the video for Lang talking about the transfer window.
Gibbo, I'm really sorry, mate. I've got to go. I want to put my telly on. I want to sit down and I want to listen. Do you think Lang's going to go with a brown polo neck or a black polo neck kind of look?
No, it'll be white shirt, mate. He's a white shirt and suit man.
And will he be filming in some hotel room in Europe like Paratici did?
It'll be at the Tottenham Hotspur way, mate, or lodge, whatever you choose to call it.
And which investigative journalist do you think is going to be grilling him with some top questions? Is it going to be Sir David Frost, rest in peace, Brian Walden, rest in peace? Who's an investigative journalist these days? I can't think of one. Anyway.
Nah, mate, it'll be that bloke who's like, all right then, Ange, that was a bad result, wasn't it? It'll be him. The one who does it after the game, who gets all the shit jobs. But, mate, I don't think it was that bad. What would have really boosted it for me was the Gahey story. I started to get all excited when I was Davo. Please forgive me. I was stupid enough to actually think I can see this happening. We'll really push for this. I bet he fancies the move. We'll up the offer and we'll get him in, and he will replace Romero next season, and he'll be our captain, like I've been saying, and we'll have that new leader, and we'll go from. And then obviously it hit a brick wall, we were told. So, well, can I honestly, when I woke up the other morning to check what was going on, and I saw that we'd made a 50 or a 70 million bid, you'll be pleased to know, Gibbo, that on the other side of the world, I was thinking of you straight away. Did you know that? It's weird sometimes. I sometimes watch a game and I think of HG at certain moments as well. I'd just like to apologise to you and HG and your families that it's just a thought process. You come across my brain when I'm watching certain things or whatever trigger words. So let's go. Do you mind if we deeply analyse the whole Mark Gahey? Well, not too deeply because this show only goes on for an hour, but you can. I'll give you. Well, we're up 42. Let's see if I drop off 4 people here. So, let's look at this objectively. So, what have Palace done in this window of their centre backs? One's been recalled by Chelsea. Yeah, I think one is injured, and they and how many days was the transfer window? Could you remind me? Yeah, there 33. Was 4. Yeah, 33 days in the transfer. Yeah, so there was. Now the bid came in on the final day. So it's one of you came in on the Saturday, like Gary said. I thought it was in the last 48 hours. They said or something. Was it? Yeah. So your star defender, I think they're still in the FA Cup. Yeah. You got 18 months left on the contract, I think, and it's just your classic. I'm going to make a big bid, knowing nothing's ever going to happen in a million years. And you, Gibbo, bless you, and I mean that you got excited. Yeah. I sat there in the Southern Hemisphere going, it's another 37.5 million bid for Sir Aguero. It's another it's another Moutinho. It's another Moutinho. It's another Dybala. It's my favourite. Damio still signing first. My favourite deadline day one was the Charlie Adam one, where it was all done. No. What happened was apparently Blackpool needed each director to physically hand sign the contract, and they couldn't find them all in time, and so he didn't come to us, and he carried on injuring Gareth Bale wherever he went. So certain things do work out on transfer deadline day, don't they? But what about that geezer who came? Wasn't there? We're trying to sign that West Brom player. Oh, and in the end, what was his name? Wingy. Berahino. Yeah. We made that, and wasn't there chairman Jeremy Peace or something like that? His name was the West Brom chairman. Yeah. And we made some ludicrous offer, and he absolutely slated Levy, and we didn't sign him, and we only had Harry Kane as a striker, and then that's the third out of second window, and then lo and behold, the website changed overnight. But so Sonny and what was his name? Clinton NG turned into centre forwards. At the end of so that was that one. So I'm John is now. We've still held our numbers at firm in 40s. Thanks for that, John. But I am looking forward after this show to settling down and indeed watching the Langer video. And John, if you'd like me to send you my kettle on.
I might put a Keller. If you'd like me to send you my review of it, I'm happy to do so. I might put
we
it on
can do
Twitter.
the review on this show next week.
Or maybe if we were clever, we could do.
Make sure you tune in next week.
Next week, we've covered off Jerry Francis's haircut. Next week, we will indeed be talking about the Langer video. So I think
Dave, I want to put in, mate. I think we better move on before you start talking about the move for Jack Grealish and offering them $3 million in Josh Anoma. So
or Alan Sugar refusing to pay £6 million for Les Ferdinand, and 3 years later buying Les Ferdinand for £6 million.
And mate, didn't we shouldn't do this. I just gotta say this. I read a book. I can't remember what it's called. And it was wrote by a guy called Harry Harris. Do you remember him? He was like a journalist.
He's my relation. He's in the Harris family.
And basically, he went to Sugar and he said, I've been speaking to some people and they've told me that Dennis Bergkamp is available. He supports Tottenham. He's Glenn Hoddle is his idol. And like he was like, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And apparently the next day he phoned up Harry Harris. I mean, it's a longer story than that. And basically said, he's rubbish. He's only scored like 3 goals or whatever for Inter this season. I'm not buying him. I've decided I'm going to buy Chris Armstrong from Crystal Palace instead. And the rest is history.
And there's just a very good point here. So obviously, you know, as we all know that I co-host a show with Jim White and Simon Jordan on Talk Sport. You know that, don't you? Yeah,
I know.
I'm always on.
I know you phone up sometimes. Yeah,
all the time, every day. And so Simon Jordan, Willie dropped the Levy interview. Can I just say one last bit of transfer day business that we haven't talked about, and then we'll move on?
Yeah.
What a signing that we've made, and what a great piece of comms that we did on the final transfer day. I am, of course, talking about our new signing, the country and western Grammy-winning singer Beyonce.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, honestly, I'm happy to invoice the club for my services to the club will be free. I'm going to give you some comms advice. On the last day of the transfer window, don't announce and don't send your database the Beyonce thing. Okay? Don't do it.
Mate, they took it down though, didn't they? They took literally put it up and then took it down.
I mean, honestly, I don't know who is in charge of the comms department. Is it a bunch of kids at school, or is it an Arsenal fan having a laugh? Is it Jamie Carragher?
It was the work
experience. It's Jamie Carragher, isn't it?
So taking the mic.
And let me tell you, I've seen Beyonce in concert, and very good, very good. And I've heartily recommend it. But let's move on from Beyonce.
On that note, big game Thursday. Big game Thursday.
The big game. Here we go.
Semi-final of the Cup. Are these new signings going to play, Dave? What do you think is going to happen? What are we going to... Or will it be the same sort of team? What are we going to do? And more importantly, how do you think the game's going to go? We're going to get through?
Well, look, for a man of my age, it's always important to talk about it's always important to talk about an early morning semi, all right?
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, if you remember ages ago, I was on a show and I said, this is what's going to happen, right? It's going to be a 2-2.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2-2. Yeah. We need a Lucas Moura type of player who's going to score that crucial thing.
Somebody shit.
What? Sorry, I've just snorted on air. Now we've gone down to 34. It's all my fault, right? So who is our shit player? But
Brennan Johnson's injured.
Timo. Yeah.
Oh, he's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, no, but that Timo would have been perfect. Timo would have been perfect. So who have we got up top? We got Sonny, no, love. Richarlison, Richarlison at Anfield.
Yeah.
Right? He's probably going to go in the summer.
Yeah.
Right. So Richarlison in the 98th minute of added time, right? He's going to score, right? And then Daniel Levy will run on the pitch at the end. He will dive into the away end.
David Pleat.
and he will be, he'll do a David Pleat, but then he'll dive into the away end, and then he'll be like chaired, like, when you stage dive and you're chaired around the high. That is what's going to happen. Levy, and he'll rip his shirt and suit off, and he'll be waving it around. He'll do a Newcastle away fan. Richarlison will get injured celebrating and will be out for the rest of the season. That's my visualization. I was chatting to someone last night who is into manifestation. Do you know what a manifestation is?
Yeah.
If you okay, so I said to her, name's Patricia. I said to her, can you please manifest Friday morning that we are going to win and beat Liverpool? And she said, if you remind me, I'll do it. So we're going to have a manifestation.
That's Friday morning.
No, nothing like that. Thank you very much. But it's a yes, at the game, yes. The manifestation she will do, and we will win. You've heard it here first.
I wish I could share your optimism, Dave. I think it'll be all over after 20 minutes. I think they'll
because we're 4 up. You mean because we're 4 up? Okay, fair enough.
I spoke earlier, didn't I? We've got obviously the Liverpool and then the Villa game. I hate Liverpool with a passion. I cannot stick Liverpool.
Why?
I just don't like them. I just don't like this. The fans, they're just and like you said, their presence in the media they're so smug and their fans I just cannot have them.
Are we related? Is there some kind of biological thing going on
and
here?
some other things about them that I don't want to go into on here. I can't stick them. And then Sunday we've got Villa in the cup. Now, obviously, people who watch this a lot will know all of my in-laws are big Villa fans. Mm-hmm. So Hal would be losing both. Heaven would be beating both.
Mm-hmm.
Purgatory is win one, lose one, isn't it? But I've just got this horrible feeling we're going to be in Hal and then we go again on Monday morning. You know, that old saying, go again.
So I Liverpool are my third most hated team. Okay?
Yeah. I think they're I don't live in London. Obviously I dislike Arsenal and Chelsea. I loathe West Ham. But I think I dislike Liverpool more than all of them.
So, growing up in the 70s and 80s, if you were the away team and you'd got, shot, stabbed, garroted in the penalty box in front of the Kop, you never got a penalty ever.
Yeah.
Right? And then, obviously Liverpool invented music with the Beatles. There's nothing before that. Liverpool invented comedy with Tarby. And then obviously you've got Silla, a Laura laughs, that, right? So when we had that disgraceful VAR victory last season, and they demanded for the game to be replayed. Yeah. I was crying with laughter, because, if something bad happens to them on the football pitch, and we're only talking about on the football pitch, to be clear, they have got the most victim mentality on the football pitch only.
Yeah.
It's always them. I mean, they're almost as laughable as the Gooners, who like singing the song about being from North London, apparently, these days. Okay, so I would love it to go up there. I'd love to go up there. So I've done manifestation, I've done visualization. I'm trying to cover off all points. Are we going to get smashed?
Desperation.
Yeah, but you know what? Hang on, good. Actually, Gary.
I knew you'd get that.
I like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I even like their not very good second album, which is called Liverpool. Good point. I did like Frankie, but anyway. So I think, okay, I know I'm grumpy and we are going to get smashed and I'm going to be pissed off about it. But it'd be nice to think I'm going to go 2-2, Gibbo.
Okay, good. People in the chat, let's have a score prediction. I would love it to be something else, but I've just got a feeling that when we played them at home, they were sort of like, let's keep it tight. Take them back to Anfield and we'll take them apart. I've got a feeling it's going to be 3-1 to them. I just think they'll like blow us out the water in the first 20 minutes. That'll be their aim, and then because they'll just.
Are they going to blow us? Are they going to blow us across the Mersey?
Mersey,
like Jerry and the Pacemakers.
I hope not, but
So I know I'm going off brand, but Gary's going off brand as well. We've got it's just two. It's a Desmond. We get a Desmond. We're there.
Let's you know, I will be made up with a Desmond. I want to be wrong. I want to be so wrong. Just hate them, and I just know that we won't get the result I want. But the Villa game, I just can't see us beating them. I know we're called Grumpy Old Spurs, mate, but I'm just trying to look at. I know we went to Brentford and we sort of produced a display and a result that we didn't think we would. But I just can't see us winning any of those two games. I think we'll be out of both of them, and then all we've got to the Europa.
Okay, before we go on to Villa, I did want to have a quick chat about any kind of semi-happiness or misery, right? So what's your happiest semi-memory as a Tottenham fan, Giver?
The first semi-final that I can really remember growing up was I went with my dad down the local social club when we beat Arsenal and Gazza scored the free kick. And I can remember like shouting. They had like an old telly they put on the table in the corner, an old like big. When the back was like massive.
Did they have an aerial on top of it?
I think it did. It was like really, and I can just remember like being in this social club and like Gazza scored that free kick, and I just like shouted at the top of my voice, and all these old boys were like very put out. It was their Sunday dinner time, but the Arsenal went.
And your worst semi.
Chelsea, mate. I went to that one when we beat Chelsea in the League Cup. We lost to Blackburn in the final, but I was there. That's when I used to have my season ticket and stuff like that. That was brilliant, beating them when we hadn't beaten for so long. Yeah,
so anyone else has got the really happy semi memory or a miserable semi memory?
Well,
do you want mine?
Go on.
I think I'll go with my happiest semi memory. The first time I ever got a semi of happiness was.
This is 7 o'clock. It's nearly. We're not about past the watershed yet, Dave. Can you stop this?
Was the replay in 1981 at the library. So I was distraught when Kenny Hibbert dived and he admitted it, and it was all in the Sunday papers the next day.
Yeah.
We were on our way.
Yeah.
We were on our way. But that's not my worst semi. I'll get on to my worst semi in a minute, right? So my happiest semi was at the library, 1981. Andy Gray was ruled out, and I think they played like Emlyn Hughes up front or something like that. And there we go, Wolves, because that was my first one. And the Lord Al Hod, a man who was slated by the millennials because he's read about Tottenham, did this through ball onto Crooks's foot that is a thing of beauty. We had the North Bank. I was on the side sitting. We had the North Bank. We had half of the away end. They only had a small, and we and what transpired, as the Aussie Ardealer said, and there's a book about it, goes after the game. They went up into the director's box and they absolutely wrecked the director's box, the players, because it's at the library. And I know we don't condone behaviour like that, and so that memory of the first time that you're going to go to Wembley with your team, was beautiful. Now the worst semi I've ever had. So a close run thing is Daniel Amakachi, because someone I went to the game. Because someone I went to the game with, it wasn't sat with me, but I told me afterwards that he said Amakachi's coming on, he's rubbish, and he got 2 goals. But that was near enough the worst. But this is the worst, right? I was living in Hong Kong. I'd lined up. There's a family occasion I needed to be in London for, and I could also get a work trip out of it. It was lined up for me to go to the 2010 FA Cup final. All we needed to do is be a rubbish Portsmouth team. With Ricardo Rocha, who we've talked about today, Kevin the Prince Boateng, that we've talked about today. We don't just throw this show together, ladies and gentlemen. It's carefully plotted and planned. And Michael Dawson, the Tottenham club rep in the media, slips over 1-0. Peter Crouch, who I have a real love-hate relationship with, he took us into the Champions League and he took us out of the Champions League for that bloody 10-minute sending off. He missed sitter after sitter after sitter against a crap Portsmouth team, and we've lost. And my dream of seeing Tottenham physically in an FA Cup final for the first time since 1987 was over. And I'm still upset about it.
And that
So
was
what
the
other
worst
ones
semi you've ever had.
That's the worst semi I've ever had. Ellen Road.
That was
awful.
Everton, wasn't it? But
Happy
Dave,
to be Tim Henman. He never got a good. No, sorry. And we got 5-1 against Woolwich in the Carling Cup.
that was good.
So
We actually won it that year, so that was a good semi.
Yes. So is there anything else we want to cover off on the semis?
I don't. No, I think we've talked enough about the semis. So I don't really want to talk about the Villa game, if I'm honest, Dave. So I'm not going to get into it.
Surely the Friday show will take care of that.
The Friday show will take care of that. But
can I just ask you? So we're back on next week, and I do want to. I mean, we'll finish off in a minute. There's a lovely quote about Jonathan Pearce I want to bring up in a minute.
Okay.
But so we said last week. Let me get this right. We've got Esbjerg and Brentford. So Esbjerg we thought we were going to get through, but we thought we were going to get smashed against Brentford.
Yeah.
And here we are now. We're grumpy, but we're kind of in an all right mood today.
Yeah.
Next week. So the Liverpool game is on Friday morning here.
Yeah, that's up for discussion next week.
And the Villa game is, I'm probably not able to watch it. It's my first day at work on Monday. I can't turn up with 3 hours sleep and pissed off at my new school. It's not going to work.
Will you watch the highlights for that, Dave? So that's next week for people tuning in. We will have the Liverpool game to discuss, the Villa game to discuss, and the big talking point to discuss next week, Dave, will be Johan Langer's interview.
Yes. We've got Johan Langer's interview. And just to finish off here, it's from, thank you, Gary. Here at White, this is a Jonathan Pearce thing. Here at White Hart Lane, as a pigeon swoop and soar above the magnificent West End as Gary Mabbott eyes the flight of the ref's coin toss. There we go. What a way. There we go.
What a way to finish the show.
Yes, there we go. Oh, hang on. We've just got a latest in on the Langer interview.
Oh, I thought they were talking about us.
Yeah, I thought Joe was talking about us as well, to be honest with you. All right. Cover this Friday, guys. 3 new signings and Spence. Okay, well, the Friday guys can do that because
I mean,
Dave, they know what they're talking about.
But it's time now, isn't it, to go and have a shower, put your comfy clothes on, sit down, and put the Johan Langer video. So that's what we suggest everybody in the chat does. If you're coming back next week, it's going to be the same time. But, go and watch the Johan Langer, take some notes, and then when we all discuss it next week, probably take up most of the show, I'd have thought, wouldn't it, Dave? Even if we beat Liverpool in Villa.
Mate, if we are in a final, I know we're grumpy, but my God, I'm going to be happy, grumpy, right?
Oh, what? Yeah.
I mean,
bloody right, we'll be happy, grumpy.
We'll be happy, grumpy. If we're in a final, I'm going to be over the moon.
Yeah.
If we beat Villa, I can't see us beating Villa 2-3 days after that.
Mate, if we beat Villa, I'll be ecstatic.
And Gary, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. I think we're wrapping up now, aren't we?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Good viewing figures again. It started off. The famous 5, always there at the start.
One of which may be my phone, the app on my phone. So there we go.
I know all my kids and my missus, my kids' friends, I've told them all to just put it on while they're playing on their PlayStations. So they just got it on. So cheers, lads. And but yeah, Dave, our regular time is going to be 7 o'clock, isn't it, on a Tuesday?
Hopefully, we might have to when the clocks change, stuff will have to work out, but we'll sort it out. But so
hopefully we can leave you feeling like you just want to go and watch something really happy to cheer yourselves up on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, so go and watch the Langer interview.
Yeah. Anyway, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.